Hi.
How's it going, buddy?
So I've been playing Bully. Hey kids, remember high school? All about slaying that pussy, smoking that kush, and getting mischievous. Well, it wasn't really like that for me, as I mostly stayed home being sick and played video games all day. But this is how the high school life was for Jimmy Hopkins, a bald, stumpy, chav-like looking motherfucker who gets dropped off at Bulworth Academy, the best boarding school, by his degenerate white trash mom who proceeds to leave with his new daddy to go on their honeymoon. They said they'd be back in a year, but deep down inside, I knew it wasn't true. This school fucking sucks cock, as it's inhabited by the worst of the worst and the dumbest of the dumb. Luckily, Jimmy soon ends up befriending Gary, your friendly neighborhood sociopath who wishes to take over the school. So, will Jimmy go along with his evil plans? Or will he find the hero he truly is deep down inside? Find out next time on the exciting new episode of Dragon Ball Z. With GTA being as popular as it is, it would make sense for its creator Rockstar Games to want to take that gameplay model and try to stuff other things into it. This gave us titles such as Red Dead Redemption, Manhunt, Table Tennis, and potentially other porn parodies like that all pretty much play exactly the same, meaning that you have an open world for you to explore freely with some collectible crap no one cares about and also glowing auras that lead to loading screens that lead to missions, which serve to not only serve the actual meat of the game, but to also serve as a vessel to serve you the story. And said story is probably one of the tightest and uniquest things Rockstar has ever produced. Sure, it has all the standard staples like you playing as the underdog, there being a lot of satire, and more often than not coming off as a bit crass or perhaps even a tad stupid, but Bully isn't quite like that, whilst also still totally being exactly like that. What I mean is that in GTA, for instance, the more subtle and tucked away stuff like the radio DJs are generally well written and performed, but also tend to develop or tell their own little stories over the course of the entire game. But the characters in the main plot lines are often nothing but bland stereotypes or funny but ultimately shallow caricatures of American cultural shit. Yep. Don't get me wrong here, Bully certainly has his fair share of that as well, with its portrayals of the fat, disgusting nerds, the slutty cheerleaders, or the inbred posh kids. But it applies to character development and longevity of a GTA radio cast. A big contributor to this is the fact that the game takes place inside of a school. So already, the cluster of characters is a lot smaller than an entire city's worth, but they also stay around for the entire semester, leading to these kids actually having an impact on each other and forcing them out of their stereotypes. Like, maybe the rich kids have more issues at home than you might think. Maybe the nerds aren't always the victim. Maybe the stupid bullies aren't actually that stupid, and so on. It's definitely all a bit simple still, but this modicum of actual character development paired with Rockstar's seal of high fucking quality makes this story pretty darn cool.
You have nice lips.
That seal of high fucking quality most certainly shows itself in the game's presentation. Back in my early days, I tried to write a video titled Bully as an Atmospheric Piece. And while that may have taken it a little bit overboard, I'm still of the opinion that this shit's pretty tight, as the entire game is drenched in constant melancholy. You see, the school and the town surrounding it are quite tiny, but dense as fuck. There are very few repeated NPCs, as even the characters that aren't important at all still often have a name, voice, and their own model. And the world itself is also very varied. There's the posh area where the houses are huge, the streets are clean, and everyone pretends to have British accents. There's the regular bit which... My guitar just fell over out of nowhere. There's the regular bit, which to me looks like a clashing of smaller American towns and Western European suburbs. The obligatory ghetto district where the railroad tracks flow like wine and the finest mahogany is used to board up your windows. And last, but most definitely least, the industrial town, which has lots of factories, highway underpasses, and something that my non-American ass can only describe as an Eminem music video. All of these districts feel completely different, yet fit perfectly into the game's overall vibe. This, along with some small aesthetical touches like the game having seasons, weather types, and lots of unique stores and other buildings with very few repeating elements, makes this small little world feel incredibly alive. The dimmed and somewhat earthy color palette paired with the render distance give this game a really nice foggy feel. It's very moody, I suppose, almost as if it's in a state of perpetual autumn. The streets are all small but scenic. The buildings are in an older European style with dark toned bricks, and Bulworth itself is fucking Hogwarthy as fuck, feeling both fancy yet completely out of its era. And naturally, there's also some cool off-the-beaten-path places as well, and plenty of cheeky suburban shortcuts and dingy alleyways. I love it. All of this makes exploring the town a lot more enjoyable than it would have been just based off of what the game does mechanically. Not that any of that's at all bad either, but as I said, it follows Rockstar's special template. And if you've gone back to any of the PS2 era GTAs, one might find that outside of the free roaming aspects, these games have not aged very well at all. There's clunky shooting, clunky combat, clunky driving, clunky pacing, clunky graphics, just clunky clunk clunk clunky clunk. But Bully isn't quite as bad by virtue of it keeping it simple.
I'm beginning to like this pain.
So yeah, open world, mission-based, vehicles, combat, follow me, sections, and basically everything you've done a billion times before if you've ever GTA'd at some point in your life. Due to it being a game about kids though, they had to be a bit more creative. I mean, you can't have teenagers going around shooting guns, so instead you'll see Jimmy wielding things like a bottle rocket, a bag of marbles, or a slingshot, just to name a few, and instead of cars he gets a skateboard and a variety of bicycles.
It's pretty cool.
And you actually end up amassing quite the arsenal as the game continues. Just kind of a shame that the UI is a bit fiddly with how it makes you scroll through your items 2005 style. I just love accidentally grabbing my skateboard in the middle of a fight while getting my butt puckered. Of course, you can always choose not to use your weapons and focus on melee instead, which honestly isn't actually all that awful when compared to its older brothers. Shit ain't definitely no Yakuza, like, not even close. But it does have some proper combos, sort of. When you lock on, you enter a type of combat mode. When in this state, all of the face buttons otherwise reserved for other things are utilized in combat, so you can do some basic punch-kick moves by either mashing square or holding it down, do some grapples with triangle, and pull off a few taunts and humiliations. It actually almost kind of resembles a beat-em-up, which is pretty good. What does kind of suck sadly is the fact that the combat doesn't seem to develop much at all. You get some new moves, sure, but more often than not they only seem to change functions of existing button combinations rather than add any new ones. And while it does remain very cathartic throughout due to the excellent animation and sound effects, it can still get a wee bit repetitive, I'm afraid. Anyway, besides knocking some heads, you'll see Jimmy do some basic stealth infiltration by way of MGS minimap vision cones, win some cheeky bike races, and go on the odd gimmicky adventure. Nothing inherently bad or broken about any of this, and it only makes a game that's already content-rich absolutely worth the itch caused by the combat. See, I tried to rhyme and went horribly wrong. I'm sorry. Oh no, it's time for class! So, the game has a couple of classes for you to follow. There's an in-game timer, and during the day, classes will start at both 9:30 and 13:30 respectively. Usually, these tend to be rhythm games or simple little puzzles, and sometimes they'll actually resemble what they are, sort of. If you went to elementary/primary school, you can manage, and they can totally be skipped if so desired, being the little delinquent what you are. However, following these classes and not fucking them up gets you some shit. Like in chemistry, you can unlock new kinds of bombs, or doing well in art school gets you the ladies.
I can know.
And shop class gradually upgrades your bike. It would have been easy for these fun little minigames to become horrible obstructions of doom if implemented poorly, but this is not the case. You see, Bully just has a very nice overall pace to it. You get up in the morning, head to your first class, do a mission, go to your second class if you're in the neighborhood, do 1 or 2 more missions afterwards, have a cycle around town, buy some clothing, grab some collectibles along the way, enjoy the music, go home, save, sleep, repeat. It's pretty relaxing, not gonna lie. And the same can be said about the game's actual missions themselves as well. Like I said before, shit's pretty varied, involving stealthy bits or photography bits or racy bits, but they also never drag on too much at all. Or at least not to me, as most tend to be on the shorter side and don't involve the whole GTA spiel where you need to pick people up, drop them off, follow them, etc. And the few longer missions that are there tend to have checkpoints all over, making them a lot more palpable upon death. The only thing that kinda shits on my nips are the rather aggressive NPCs. In a few areas and chapters, they can quite drastically interrupt the flow of the game, leading to unwanted accidental deaths as you were simply trying to get on with what you were doing. It was only an issue for maybe like 4 times during my entire 12-hour experience though, so nothing too bad, but it's still a bit frustrating whenever it occurs. Guys, I do believe that this game is pretty good. And it's aged a lot better than I thought it would, which was a nice added bonus. The story is fun to watch, the character interactions are charming, the gameplay is well designed, and it also controls pretty fucking well besides a few little niggles like the somewhat dated camera and the before mentioned weapons menu. Plus, the atmosphere and soundtrack are fucking
Immaculate.
and Jimmy's a pretty cool protagonist as well. Thing is that he's initially portrayed as this pretty box standard juvie fuckboy, even though there's actually a lot more to it. And I don't mean the bad boy with a heart of gold act either. It's like, he's very cocky and streetwise, but not actually intelligent and also a bit of a walking chode. So sometimes he'll try and do shit for personal gain, and other times he'll genuinely want to help, but he'll still get taken advantage of by anyone with an IQ over 100 either way. This makes him very interesting as a video game protagonist, as he's relatable but also has a lot of stakes going against him, coming from all kinds of different corners, resulting in a cornucopia of friends, enemies, enemies turned friends, and vice versa. It's pretty cool, and I highly recommend checking the game out sometime if you haven't already. Oh, ooh, that was unexpected. Also, to anyone wondering, yeah, I know all about the Scholarship Edition that's available on Steam right now. I initially wanted to review that because it looked pretty and ran great, but quite quickly I learned that the PC port has 0 shits given about it during portage. I mean, for one, none of the menus were controllable with mouse, and for second, it wouldn't display the proper options menu until after the opening cutscenes, both of which are huge PC gaming no-nos. After that, I fucked with the drivers because none of my controllers would work, and the default keyboard and mouse controls suck absolute smeg and are held to rebind. So for as far as I care, the PC version can go fuck itself. Fucking guitar.